All right, we are live on YouTube.
All right, welcome everybody to House Energy and Digital Infrastructure. It is Tuesday, May 6th, and we are here with Legislative Council to review relevant statutes on artificial intelligence in Vermont. And then later this afternoon, we'll be hearing from the Agency of Digital Services on AI. So we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. We typically ask folks who are joining us as guests to introduce themselves, if that's okay. And then Rick, you can join us in the hot seat. So I'm Representative Kathleen James from Manchester.
Richard Bailey from Mobile 2.
Chris Morrow, Windsor, Bennington. Michael Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Eric Corey, Washington 2.
Graham Klubner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
Oh, Representative Scott Campbell from St. Johnsbury.
Jack Locker, Committee Assistant.
I'm Bill Cohen, Associate Justice on the Supreme Court. I'm chair of the Judiciary's AI Committee. So we just issued our report and just wanted to hear what's going on.
Great. For the record.
Rick Sagel, Office of, excuse me, Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel. Good afternoon. I have been asked here today to share kind of the landscape, gotta get my talking correct, the landscape of AI in Vermont. And I want to share my screen. And I have a lot of links that I am going to share. I just sent them to Jack. I assume he'll post them as soon as possible. And I kind of want to go in chronological order to some extent as to when this got started. And there'll be a little bit jumping around. But for the most part, I do want to go in order, not of importance, but of chronological order. And really the AI government, the assembly getting involved with AI started in 2018. This is Act 137. This act created the AI task force. So this was before there was ADS, but there was no division of AI. There was no statutes regarding AI in Vermont. In fact, if you can think back to 2018, we had AI, but it was not the pop culture that it is today. Today, you hear about generative AI with ChatGPT, about the creating images, videos that are artificially deepfakes that are created. So Vermont, in some ways, was early in doing this, but this was the first step it took in creating a task force. So the purpose of the task force, you can see the membership. I don't want to spend too much time on this part, but there were 13 members. The duties were a few things. Study the field of artificial intelligence, including an assessment of the development and use of AI technology, including benefits and risks. 2, whether and how to use AI in state government, including an analysis of the fiscal impact, if any, on the state, and whether state regulation of the AI field is needed. So this was 2018. In 2019, they amended this session law to give them more time to complete the report. It was initially due in 2019, and they pushed it to 2020. So in 2020, January 5th, 2020, they issued this report. I have not had a chance to read the whole thing. It is lengthy, but the following year or two, the legislature used this report to come up with some legislation in drafting what the AI laws would be of the state. So again, this is going to be on the website. You can review this task force report if you like. It is 5 years old. Things have changed in the last 5 years, but the state did act on at least a few things that were in the report. Good so far? Okay. So Act 132, this is a direct result.
I'm sorry, I wasn't good so far. I just realized that was session law.
So the AI task force was session law.
Okay.
Yep. But they did the report, and in 2022, the legislature acted and created session law and statutory law based on that report in 2020. So you can see they reference, and this is Act 132, if you like the Act number. They reference the AI task force created in 2018. And you can kind of, if you'd like a summary of the report instead of reading it, you can see what the General Assembly, how they summarize the report. There's opportunities for economic growth, improvement to quality of life, but also their risks of loss of jobs, invasion of privacy. Large-scale technological change makes states rivals for the economic rewards, where inaction leaves states behind. The states can become leaders in crafting appropriate responses to change. The task force determined that there are steps the state can take to maximize opportunities and reduce the risk, but action must be taken now. The task force concluded that there is a role for local and state action, especially where national and international action is not occurring. The final report presents a series of recommendations for policies and actions consistent with the limited role of Vermont to direct the path of AI development and use in the state. The final report also concludes that Vermont can make a difference, maximize the benefits of AI, and minimize or adapt to the adverse consequences. Okay, so this act does quite a bit of work when it comes to AI. And I'm going to go in order of the act. It's not necessarily in order of importance, but it's in order of the act here. Section 2 adds reporting. This, you recognize this is 3303. You may recognize the statute. This is the ADS statute that we amended, or that you passed out a bill that amends this reporting statute. They added a subdivision which adds a update to the inventory required by section 3305, which doesn't mean much now because here they created section 3305, which is the automated decision system kind of inventory that ADS must conduct. So this is in the ADS statutes, 3305. There's some definitions here that still exist today. You'll hear this number 2, this automated decision system. This is basically an AI machine. Okay, this is a technical term for the result of AI or using AI. It's any algorithm, including one that incorporates machine learning or other AI techniques that uses database analytics to make or support government decisions, judgments, or conclusions. So keep in mind, this statute only regulates the state's use of AI. We're not talking about the private use. That's something that we haven't done yet in Vermont. I'll show you some bills that would do that, but this statute is just about ADS doing an inventory of other state executive branch departments, how they use AI and automated decision systems. Okay, so the inventory, the ADS shall conduct a review and make an inventory of all automated decision systems that are being developed, employed, or procured by state government. The inventory shall include the following for each automated decision system: the name of the vendor, a description of its general capabilities, including reasonably perceivable capabilities outside the scope of the agency's proposed use, and whether the system is used or may be used for independent decision-making powers, and the impact of those decisions on Vermont residents. The type.
Sorry, I'm a little hung up on the phrase decision, automated decision. Can you explain that to me a little bit more?
So how we've defined it, or in general, what they're referring to here?
I guess both. Because in my mind, I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around this a little bit more. And I'm thinking of, when I think of automated decision, I think of an AI machine or thing making a recommendation or actually deciding something. Or does it mean, is it a step back where it says that you're employing machine learning to just decide what sentences to put in a summary?
So probably a better question for ADS, but what I can tell you is think about in the non-state sector, if you apply for a loan and you're on a website, you type in your income, you type in your address, you type in your whatever financial information they want. Sometimes you get an immediate decision, right? Or you get an interest rate decision when you file that application. A lot of that is automated, and those decisions are happening without a human at the machine typing in something. So not that the state uses in that context, but I'm sure I can pull up the report where ADS does this review, and they say the Department of Motor Vehicles uses these systems to XYZ, right? And they'll tell you the vendor, they'll tell you what it's doing and why it's doing it. So I think ADS can maybe tell you practically how that works legally. All I can tell you is, we have it defined. And, how that works in real life is probably not something I can speak to, but it is meant to cover decisions not made by a human. There's no human that is reviewing what is going on.
Okay.
Maybe after the fact, but not initially.
Okay, so it is at the level that I first described of a screening process
Sure.
or a pre-decision or a recommendation, or we're going to plug in your numbers here and we're going to spit out a preliminary thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, state government, how that's used is not something I would be able to tell you, but apparently it is being used in various ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so I believe I'll on 4. This again is going through the inventory. It's what ADS does on the executive branch of government. Whether the automated decision system has been tested for bias by an independent third party, has a known bias, or is untested for bias. A description of the purpose and proposed use of the system, including, ABC, I'll let you read that. How automated decision system data is securely stored and processed, and whether an agency intends to share access to the automated decision system or the data from the automated decision system with any other entity, which entity and why. And finally, a description of the IT physical impacts of the system, including costs, acquisition and operating, maintenance, licensing, personnel, so forth. Cost savings that would be achieved through the use of technology and any current or potential sources of funding, including any subsidies or free products being offered by vendors or governmental entities. So I want to quickly hop over, I'll go back to this in a second, to show you, if you look at their annual reports, this is where they put the ADS inventory. What's nice about the electronic version is you can click around and you can quickly go to a certain page. So if we go to report of AI inventory, is what it's called here, you'll see that under 3 VSA 3305, which is what I just talked about, this is what they have to respond to as it pertains to each automated decision system. And then there are several pages going through each, the name of the vendor, and then the entity using the system. So this is AOT, and you can see identifying traffic signs and geolocate them for an inventory. The benefits, the capabilities, impacts and ethics of this technology. Give you another example here. This is also AOT, Fugro, might be how you pronounce it. Classified pavement quality. So this is available if you want to look at them to see. It's interesting to see how much AI is being used at the state level. But there is this required inventory every year. They must put this in the annual reporting. So, any questions about the inventory?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're still in Act 132. This is 2022. Section 4, inventory report, ADS. This is on or before December 1st, 2022. ADS shall submit to committees a report on the inventory. This must have been just temporarily until they did it on an annual basis, which now required. Section 5 creates this division of artificial intelligence within ADS. So we have AI system defined. This is statutory. This is in Chapter 69 of Title 3. As used in the chapter, artificial intelligence system means systems capable of perceiving an environment through data acquisition and then processing and interpreting the derived information to take an action or actions to imitate intelligent behavior given a specific goal. An AI system can also learn and adapt its behavior by analyzing how the environment is affected by prior actions. So I think you've had, I believe Josiah's name.
They're coming later.
Okay, and so he is the current director, I believe, of this division. I apologize to get that title wrong, but this is where it was created, and it is intended to review all aspects of AI systems developed, employed, or procured in state government. So again, just specific to state government, not private sector or anything else. The division shall be administered by the Director of AI, who shall be appointed by the Secretary of Digital Services. The division shall review AI systems developed, employed, or procured in state government, including proposed for adoption by ADS, a state code of ethics for AI in state government, which I'll show you here in a second. Make recommendations to the General Assembly on policies, laws, and regulations for AI systems in state government. And review the automated decision systems inventory created by ADS, including whether any systems affect the constitutional or legal rights, duties, or privileges of any Vermont resident, whether there are any potential liabilities or risks that the state of Vermont could incur from its implementation. There is reporting annually that would provide the extent of the use of AI in state government and any short or long-term actions needed to optimize that usage. The impact of using AI in state government on the liberty, finances, livelihood, and privacy interests of Vermont residents. Any necessary policies to protect the privacy and interests of Vermonters from any diminution caused by employment of AI systems by state government. Ensure that Vermonters are free from unfair discrimination caused by AI. Address the use of or prohibition of systems that have not yet been tested for bias or been shown to contain bias. And address security and training on AI systems. Okay, going back to this, let's see here, this ethics code. So in 20, and this can be updated as needed. It's not required to be annually updated or at any point, but as needed. So through ADS, the division of AI has published these guidelines for use of content generating AI. I have not had a chance to read through all of it, but this is intended to apply to all state employees and state departments and agencies on how they can use AI in their work. If you look through it, it's not that long. It's, I think, 3 or 4 pages.
And how is something like that enforced when there's a guideline like this? It's just a guideline.
It's just a guideline.
Okay.
The General Assembly required them to produce this, but you have no oversight as to the contents of it. So you could, issue new law. This is, we want the guideline to contain this, this, this. But for now, it's just, you must produce this and review it annually for, and you do have some guidelines. So this shows you a nice way of looking at what the Code of Ethics requires. So if there's on the left side, if it's a press release, using AI that checks for proofreading grammar is okay. That's the check mark. If you use AI for brainstorming on the first draft and less than 25% of it's AI, you should cite that AI was used. You cannot use, which would be 50% of your writing. It's created by AI. You cannot do that. And then, further than that, you can't use that either. So that's kind of a good look at what the guidelines were updated 2023.
And across all state government, this is all state employees.
The executive branch, yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So that was when ChatGPT started November 23, and so does this conclude generative AI or just for previous versions of AI?
So I've not had a chance to read this carefully, the guidelines. But if you look at, I'm looking at the first paragraph here, they certainly took into account ChatGPT, but there are several AI, like Grammarly is one I can think about, that people don't think of Grammarly as AI, but it is AI. Spell check is AI, right? It's not this generative AI that people think about where it makes you a picture or gives you a summary of what you've of something, a bill, right? However, in this case, Grammarly would be used for checking your email for spelling, for grammatical press release, for grammatical mistakes. So that would be a quote unquote acceptable use of AI. And I assume it's something they checked, but I can't say for sure. A good question for the Vision of AI folks to chime in on. Okay, back to saying this is, by the way, this all this information. If you go to ADS's website and you go, they have an AI menu item. They have a lot of these documents are under the key documents section, and they have their the council, which I'll get to in a second. The council on AI, they host their meetings here. I watched a couple of their videos. It's insightful to see what they talk about and the issues that come up before them. Okay, again, back to Act 132. So we created this division of AI, which still exists today in statute. Also in the chapter 69 is the AI Advisory Council, section 5013. So all this is created at the same time. Creating the Artificial Intelligence Advisory Council to provide advice and counsel to the director of the division of AI with regard to the division's responsibilities to review all aspects of AI systems developed, employed, or procured in state government. And you see the members, a pretty big group. You have the secretary of ADS or designee. Again, you can look and see the members here. Wide range of backgrounds. Okay, go down to their consultation. The Advisory Council shall consult with any relevant national bodies on AI, including the National Artificial Intelligence Advisory Committee, established by the Department of Commerce, and its applicability to Vermont. Notice that this will repeal June 30th, 2027. So if you want to keep the council, you'd have to act to repeal the repeal. That's something that the state started doing not too long ago to ensure that if you want to keep something, the assembly must act to keep it. So this, again, I can't speak to everything this council does. They don't have a list of duties. It's just really to provide advice and counsel to the director of the division of AI. So I imagine that director has quite a bit of leeway in what he or she would bring to the table or what he presents to the council. Something to ask, obviously, that group.
They are coming in this afternoon as well, the co-chair.
Yeah, but in statute for now.
Yeah.
Until 2027. Okay, then we have section 6, just the session law mandated in the first meeting of that council that's long gone. Section 7, on or before January 15, 2023, the council shall submit a report to the House Committee on Energy Technology, which I guess is now you all, and the Senate committees on finance and government operations on the following: the State Code of Ethics, as described in 3 U.S.A. 5012, and what policies the state should have for a third-party entity to disclose potential conflicts of interest prior to purchasing or using the entity's technology, and how the state should evaluate those conflicts with respect to how the state intends to implement the technology. Okay, so I have this report pulled up. I'm going to jump over again. Yeah, believe this is the one. This is the report. Again, I found it on the ADS's website. I sent it to Jack, so he has a copy of it. It's a 17-page report. I'll let you read on your own time. This would take me quite a while to read. I haven't read it all completely yet, but that is a report that I did produce. On or before January 15, 2024, the council shall develop and submit to the House Committee on Energy Technology recommendations for a clear use and data management policy for state government, including protocols for the following: how and when an automated decision system will be deployed or used, and by whom, including the factors that will be used to determine where, when, and how the technology is deployed, whether the technology will be operated continuously or used only under specific circumstances, and when the automated decision system may be accessed, operated, or used by another entity on the agency's behalf, and any applicable protocols. Whether it gives notice to an individual impacted by the system of the fact that the system is in use and what information should be provided with consideration of the following. The name and inventor of the system, what decision or decisions it will be used to make or support, whether it is automated system or support system, final or support, what policies and guidelines apply to its deployment, whether a human verifies or confirms decisions made by the system, and how an individual can contest any decision made involving the automated system. So it goes on, but again, this report, it's combined in this one. This one here. This report contains both those two requirements I just went over. This one here due in January 2024, and this one that was due in January 2023. Questions about those reports?
No, but you said they're combined in the other tab that you were just.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. There's one more report. Let's see. This is the creation of the director of the Division of AI. Let's see. Make sure I could. So I'm sorry. This is this report here. This January 15, 2025, this one covers, they must have been a year behind. Because this 2025 report, here we go. Sorry, I missed this one. On or before January 15, 2025, the council shall submit recommendations on the following: whether the scope of the division should be expanded to include AI outside state government, whether there should be any changes to the structural oversight, membership, or powers and duties of the council, whether the council should cease to exist on a certain date, and whether there are any other additional tasks the division should complete. So there are two reports on this 2024 report, and this one here is the final 2025 report on the future of the AI Council, whether or not they should expand outside state government, whether or not they should exist after 2027. Okay, that is Act 132. Any questions about Act 132?
No, I do want to make sure that all of those reports are linked on our web page and that we didn't get them mixed up. So I'll just check that with you, Jack, later.
Sure.
Okay.
That should help. So these are, and this is the last time that the Assembly passed statutes regulating AI. So as you can see, Chapter 69 of Title 3, this is your house for the Division of AI. And I already went over the language. It hasn't changed since Act 132, but you created this division within ADS. You created the director position within this division, and the reporting is still required as to, the extent of use of AI, etc. And that's included in the annual ADS report. And you have the council that is still meeting, but they would cease to exist in 2026.
Rick, the ceasing to exist, is that just happens automatically and unless we remember to take affirmative action, or is that part of don't we have a sunset commission or committee that just kind of routinely reviews all the sunsetting things in GovOps?
Yes, you do. And again, it started with reporting. It used to be that reports were due every year, even after the reports became necessary to receive. So agencies just stopped sending them because this report is not important anymore. So then we passed a statute that said reports expire after a certain amount of time. And sometimes some laws notwithstand that statute, notwithstanding this statute that requires reports to expire, this one will never expire. So we do that. And now we do this where we set, not always, but we set certain things to repeal for either political reasons or because it's something to keep a check back to ensure that something does get a review after a certain amount of time. And then you have the GovOps committees that also review certain working groups, committees that were created that maybe should be reviewed as to whether they should sunset. And there would be notice that this committee or that this council would cease to exist. Probably in 2027 is when we'll receive notice that this is only set to expire.
And that'll come to the committee.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's great. I just always worry, as you know, you've heard from me before, just, you know, the turnover and the churn in the legislature, and every 2 years, who knows? Who knows who's going to be back? Huh?
Right.
We'll replace the council with that.
All right, thank you. So there's some kind of flag built into the system.
Yes, right.
It's not up to me to remember.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, ideally, it's the same committee, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, you all come back. You all may not, or you may go to a different committee. Things happen. Ideally, I'm still here. And I would note, oh yeah, this committee is council set to repeal. I have a few in my head, not this one, but there's a few in my head floating around for next year that I need to remember. Okay, so that's the AI statute. And again, this is the ADS statute. This is, just as a reminder, this is Title III, Chapter 56, ADS. 3305 was created in that Act 132 that adds the automated decision system work that ADS must conduct and the inventory of that system on an annual basis. Any questions about that? Okay. I showed you the AI website on ADS website. I showed you the annual report where ADS shows you the inventory of AI being used across state government. I showed you the ethical guidelines that was created by the Division of AI. The reports that were due from Act 132. So the next thing I have are a few bills that are being tossed around this session that involve AI. Some are moving, some are not. I'll start with the one that is moving. This one is S23. It passed the Senate before crossover.
That's the question. I'm not sure who to ask this up, but our committee was listed on there as to get that report.
Mhm.
So do we actually get these reports, or is that just kind of the language they use? And
It should be sent to you, right? I will say that this one, January 15th, that one should have gone. Oh yeah, you're specifically listed here. So yeah, this one would have gone to you. It would have
It's
been
on our
sent.
website.
it's just, okay, so we have a.
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
this year was weird because we weren't constituted, you know. So I did my best at the beginning of the session to try and find out any report that should have come to us, could have come to us. We might have missed because we weren't around, and tossed them up on the website. We've been trying to move kind of fairly systematically through, but we haven't. It's not been utterly systematic. And then I think that next year they will come to us, and they're submitted to. I can't remember how it works. Like it's Jack and I actually spent a decent amount of time trying to figure all this out because some come to me, some come to Jack, some come to the whole committee. Some go straight to a legislative reports website. Like it's not as great as you would think. And so we've got to be next year. I think we'll be a lot more on it.
So AI should fix that.
Yeah. And then for the next biennium, the now that we're back, anybody who's putting reports into statute, we're now in the statute. But for some of these, we weren't even in the statute. So
Thank you.
Sure. So S23, like I said, passed the Senate before crossover. It's currently in House Government Operations. So this bill, if passed, would require anybody that creates a deepfake ad, either visual, video, image, or a like fake telephone phone call that you answer the phone, it's a fake voice. It would not prohibit it, but if you create one of those fake ads of a politician within 90 days of an election, one of the requirements, you'd have to have a disclaimer. And the disclaimer, I will read you exactly what it says. This media has been created or intentionally manipulated by digital technology or artificial intelligence. So if it's an image, that would be stamped on the image, right? In a easy to read font. If it's a video, it would have to just be displayed. Is it throughout? Yeah, full duration of the video. So this bill is likely to move. I can see it passing, actually. We'll see what this again. The House may make some changes to it, but there does appear to be some support behind this, because I think people want elections to be safe and not wrongfully manipulated by people, by bad actors. So a lot of states, I think we'd be the 24th or 25th state to do this. This is a common thing happening now where states are banning or at least regulating AI in election ads. There are some First Amendment issues. I won't bore you with those issues, but certainly it does involve AI. So something to be aware of that may come to fruition this year.
Such an interesting topic to me. I bet they've taken a bunch of testimony. I wish I'd been able to follow this bill, but it just seems like does it have to include the image of the image of a candidate or the voice of a candidate, or could it be on a broader issue that voters may be thinking about? I mean, it seems like you could put up an image to do with housing or the price of housing or
right, so
property taxes or rising property taxes, and it could be very broad or general.
Good question. It has to be an image that or something that creates a representation of an individual or individuals with the intent to So it's got to be a person. It can't be like a fake picture of the Capitol. It can't be, something else you manipulate. It's got to be a person, either their voice, but it also has to be looks like them. Like it has to be, it can't be a political cartoon. Those are clearly not a real depiction of a person. It's got to be a deep fake where you can't tell. Like, is this Kath James? I can't tell. Is she actually saying these crazy things?
Okay.
Right? That's kind of the point of that.
Okay, and it has to be within 90 days
Of an election.
of an election.
Yeah. And it just requiring disclosure. You can always do it, but within those 90 days of an election, you have to have the disclosure.
And is the individual or individuals is the candidate?
No.
Wild. Okay. So
It's a good question. It's not. It's with the intent to injure the reputation of a candidate. So I'll use Elon Musk as an example. Elon Musk is not a candidate, right? However, if you use him in a deep fake with Donald Trump, then and that would be
so there could be a deep fake of Representative Torre saying, I would like you to understand all the reasons why you should not vote for Representative James.
Right. And that would injure you, right? Potentially.
Can they?
Sure. You would. I'm not sure you have the cause of action. Definitely Rev James. I'm not sure if you would as well. You might.
And okay, I could really bog down in this. So
so this
on we go.
It's interesting. This is the one that's moving. These other three have not taken off the wall. H340 is a consumer protection AI bill. It proposes to regulate developers and deployers of automated decision systems used in consequential decisions in an effort to avoid algorithmic discrimination towards consumers. So this is it's a 23-page bill. A lot of these AI bills are new because it's such a new field. And I can't remember how many states have done this, not many. But there's this movement I mentioned earlier, you apply for a loan. So you type in your name, your address, your age, your income level. And then you get a result, whether you qualify for a loan, what your rate is, whatever that happens to be. There's an argument that system can be discriminatory. based on your maybe your race, based on your age, based on your gender, whatever happens to be your sex. So this kind of bill, I'm not going to read through all of it, but this bill would ensure that those systems are not discriminatory towards consumers. And this is not state government, this is outside state government, this is private sector. So that if you, as a business, use an AI system that makes an automated decision for you, that system cannot be discriminatory.
So if AI screened loans were excluding some low income Vermonters or something,
It would be so, yeah. Low income
that's probably
may not be a protected status, right? But
right. Okay, so for
age, color, disability, ethnicity, genetic information, immigration, English language, limited proficiency. So there are certain things that are more protected
I see.
categories.
Yep. So this is specific to the protected classes in. Don't we have different lists of protected classes in different parts of statute, though?
Yes. So this would be creating its own, right? We're saying this is the class of people. This is the class that we want to protect. And you can, this bill, again, I've not even done a walk through this bill. So this bill, I imagine, would be debated, and so it only applies to what's a quote unquote consequential decision, which would be educational training, assessment, or grading. So including detecting student cheating or plagiarism. So there are some AI tools that say the student probably plagiarized his paper, or this is probably there's been cheating because they had another browser tab open when they took their test. And that could be a wrong result that the student gets harmed for. Employment or an employment opportunity. So you don't get promoted because of an AI decision. Housing, lodging, you don't get qualified for a rental because your application gets sorted out, right? I don't think these are right or wrong, but that's what the bill would regulate. This is H340. Then you have H341. This, similar, a little bit different. This bill proposes to create safety standards for developers and employers of inherently dangerous artificial intelligence systems. So what is an inherently dangerous AI system? Let me show you the definition. Any AI system, regardless of the number of parameters and supervision structure, that is used or reasonably perceivable is being used as a controlling factor in making a consequential decision to categorize groups of persons by sensitive and protected characteristics such as race, ethnic origin, and religious belief, is in the direct management or operation of critical infrastructure, in vehicles, medical devices, or in the safety system of a product, or used to influence elections or voters. This gives the Division of AI authority to review. Okay, I wrote these bills. It's been a few months, and they all kind of blend together at some point. So this bill is more of you have to submit safety assessments. Like if you run these models, these high risk models that are used in these decisions, then you have to create these impact assessments that are kind of a check on yourself. Like, yeah, we don't do this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. And these reports would be sent to the Division of AI, and they would have them for record keeping and potentially for violations. Again, this is H341. The AG has authority to investigate if a AI system is being discriminatory or is creating harm in other ways.
Yeah, Rep Morrow.
What committee is this?
I think this is House Commerce. Most of the consumer protection bills, AI or not, go to House Commerce. Okay, finally, you have H365, which is a little bit different. This would create a registry for artificial intelligence systems as well as social media platforms. So the idea here is that if you operate an AI system in the state, that you'd have to register your system with I think the Secretary of State's office Same thing with social media, that if you operate social media in the state, you would have to register and pay an annual fee. I'm going to go down to the AI portion. We define what algorithmic discrimination is. It's when any condition in which the use of AI results in unlawful differential treatment or impact that disfavors an individual on the basis of their age, color. You recognize this. Again, the idea is to protect people from AI discrimination. The definition of AI system: any machine-based system that for any explicit or implicit objective infers from the inputs the system receives how to generate outputs, including content, decisions, predictions, or recommendations that can influence physical or virtual environments. So you require a person that operates an AI system to register with the Secretary of State, pay an annual fee of $100, provide their basic contact information, their privacy policy, and conditions in use by the AI system, and the data collection, storage, and security practices of the AI system. To this portion. The other, they must agree to this product safety and privacy statute that they must exercise reasonable care to protect consumers from known or foreseeable risks of AI discrimination. Clearly and conspicuously disclose to a consumer using an AI system that they are using an AI system. You see this one a lot, that some of the laws proposed around the country that they must disclose that you are using a system that contains AI, or the decision that is made is being made partially or completely by AI. Obtain informed consent from a consumer before collecting or using their data. Obtain, separate from that consent, informed consent before sharing or selling their data. And implement reasonable security measures to protect the data of a consumer used to train the model. A lot of these companies will use data that it gets from your use of it to further train it, which makes the AI smarter, right? It learns from what we do. So the object here would be to, if it does that, to make sure that there are reasonable measures to protect the data that is used to train the model. So those are the 4 bills that I think are AI tangent or directly related to AI. So.
Rick Morrow?
Is there any discussion of remedy themselves, or is that?
So you do have, on this one that I just have pulled up, you do have the Vermont Consumer Protection Act. So if a AI system did not, or if a provider of the AI system did not implement these reasonable measures, they could be held accountable by the person. They could be sued, or the AG could enforce that violation. The other ones, I'm sure, have similar language. It's usually consumer protection. We invoke the Consumer Protection Act.
So the election one is moving and the rest are parked in commerce.
Correct.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, are there any Senate bills that are moving, Rick?
Any Senate bills?
Yeah, on these topics?
No. As far as I'm aware, unless it's out of my portfolio, but I tend to have the AI stuff, so I'm not familiar with any in the House or Senate otherwise that I haven't brought up already.
Okay.
Right. Anybody else? Just go. Okay. Rep. Klettner.
How familiar are we collectively with what other states are doing?
So as far as I'm concerned, I try to keep up. This fuel is so dynamic. Every state has at least one bill, right, that is trying to regulate. And I'm trying to separate. You have also the data world, which I'm also involved in. You have the data privacy world, which I consider to be different than the AI world. So you have data privacy, you have data brokers, but then you have AI and social media. But when it pertains to AI, not much has been enacted yet. Colorado has something. I believe that Colorado is the first state to pass the AI discriminatory. I have to double check that, but they have something, and I imagine every state is at least introducing something similar, like Vermont did, but it's new.
NCSL, I thought I sent this to the full committee, but I may not have. I thought I did. NCSL has a really good policy toolkit. So they have 3 emerging trends in AI legislation across the country, using AI in state budgeting, and then a whole AI policy toolkit. Jack, didn't we ask them to come in?
Yeah, they're scheduled, I think, for Thursday morning, and we're trying to shift them to Thursday afternoon.
Or is that the cybersecurity people?
What's your name? Something Canada?
Yeah, Chelsea. One sec. Let me look at our agenda. You did reach out to them.
She's going to do cybersecurity and also touch on the AI policy toolkit. That was in the testimony request.
Great. I'll look back over that testimony request. Make sure we didn't combine 2 things. But anyway, yes, NCSL has a lot of information on this, and we have asked them to come in.
Great.
Rep. Sibilia.
Yeah, and we're one of the first, if not the first, states to establish the division, the AI division, I believe.
It was early.
22.
I can't speak to it. The first was early. Yeah.
Other questions? Okay. Jack, we can go off live and take a break until 2:30. ADS was not able to come earlier today, so we'll have a little half hour off and we'll be back